Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us for tonight's edition of HR Mentorship Learning Series. We'll be looking at a very interesting topic today. My name is Oluyemi Adeosun, and the topic we'll be looking at is supporting pregnant women in the workplace, and also how to navigate workplace challenges as a pregnant employee. Our facilitator for today is Grace Oluwalola, and she was here some time ago with a very interesting session we had that day, very memorable, and we're excited to have her back with us today. I will read her profile, very brief profile. Grace serves as the CEO of TFA Foundation, and she's also the co-founder, Talent Expert Solutions. She has well over 15 rich years of experience in people management, project and business strategy, learning and development, and also leadership. She has led successful ventures and helped in market growth across various ecosystems and countries. Grace holds a master's degree in international human resource management from VIU Universidad Internacional de Valencia, Spain. She's a certified HR tech practitioner and project manager. She's a member of the prestigious Forbes Black community and known for her visionary leadership and commitment to fostering an inclusive innovation company culture. Ladies and gentlemen, beyond her professional life, Grace is a teacher of the word and actively involved in working with various girl-child initiatives, helping to shape the future of young girls and women, mentoring and pointing them to opportunities, especially in technology. Grace continues to strive for excellence, driven by a commitment to making a positive impact in her field and community. And just to also add that she's a literal example of what our name means, experiencing the full grace of God. Ladies and gentlemen, speaking to us this evening on the topic, supporting pregnant women in the workplace, I'm excited to present to us Grace Oluwalola. You have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Malgar. Good evening, everyone, and good evening, boss. Excuse me, it's good to be here, and I do not take this for granted. Thank you so much. So because of our time, we're just going to be going into this. But before we go in, I want to give this perspective that everything I'll be talking about tonight will be based on, so this is not a training, this is just us sharing, but just for the purpose of guide, that's why we're having the slide. So I won't be using the slide a lot, the same way I usually like to do my training, but I'll be sharing the experience. Let me say this, the experiences I'll be sharing, some part of it will be mine, and but when it has to do with pregnancy, that won't be mine. I haven't been pregnant before, so I'm fine. So so at least so that if the question will be coming, so I wouldn't want to get, oh, how did you navigate when you were pregnant? No, that experience won't be mine. But I've in my few years of working as human resources person, and even before I moved into full human resources, I've worked with women. I've worked in, so I started my career in call center. I had to oversee over 100 people. And so working with women has always been a thing for me for the over 20 years that I've been working. So just wanted to make that clear. So when we talk about supporting pregnant women in the workplace, number one thing I want to say is we are human resources people, and we're first of all human before we started managing human resources. So there are times when it will have to even be us. And so tonight we're going to be looking at it from the perspective of supporting women. Then we're going to be looking at legal requirements. We're going to also be looking at it from the point of if it is us that are pregnant and we need that support, because sometimes HR is the one watching out for everyone. And the question is always, who is watching out for HR? Who is taking care of HR? And it's always, if nobody is taking care of you, you have to take care of yourself. But tonight, we're just going to be looking at, okay, in a case where we don't even have all the support, how do we manage ourselves? So I will start by sharing a very good experience with you. So in one of the jobs I've worked, not too long ago. So I had this colleague who was the head of department. She had a good job, a good role, and she's always very busy. A lot was on her shoulder. She had to do a lot of things. And she was close to 40. So at the point when the good news broke that she was getting married, she had her introduction. She had already crossed the 40th birthday threshold, and everybody was happy for her. She had the introduction, and then it was, oh, let's get married. I remember we all took karaoke, and oh, we were ready, and everybody was, and she looked really beautiful on her birthday, on her wedding day. So during that period, we had to sit with her graciously. I was the one managing the HR function in that place. So because she was an head of department, I was the one actually, like, I had to sit down, okay, what leave days do you have and everything. And then she went on her leave plus the one that the organization gave her for her wedding. So she was on holiday for 3 weeks. And by the time she came back, I remember she came back on a Monday and she came to my office and said, "Oh, G, I want to see you." "Oh, yeah, welcome back." I was all over her, hugging and everything. "Yeah, well, you're looking well." And then she said, "Oh, G, I need to tell you something, and I know you're going to be very disappointed." And I'm like, "How disappointed?" And she said, "Well, I'm pregnant." And for me, I was elated. I jumped, I hugged her. I was really happy for her. And she was like, I said, you're pregnant." She said, "Okay, let me be very truthful. I'm in my second trimester." So second trimester is like 4 months, right? And she just got married. So this was early October. She got married in September. And so that's why she thought I was going to judge her. I said, "I know you're going to flip." And I'm like, "No, I'm happy for you." And honestly, I was really, really happy for her. One, because getting pregnant at 40, it's grace. Now, that grace is not me. It's grace, like grace itself, because women will tell you, sometimes for people from when they cross 30, getting pregnant becomes a lot more difficult than when they're 25, 28 even. It's a struggle. Now, 40 years old. And when she said that, I was really happy for her. And she said, "Well, but the challenge I'm going to have," and she told me, "Oh, she has fibroid." And because she's already going to second trimester, she had to start her antenatal, and that's every Friday. Now the work structure is hybrid. So we work was hybrid then. Okay, so we will do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at work, and Tuesday, Thursday we work from home. So she said to me, Friday will be her antenatal, so she wouldn't even be able to come to work because that Friday and where she's having it is another town. And okay, I said, okay, let me think about it. And then she will come from, okay, this happened in Abeokuta. Let me just put it on the table. So Monday morning, she'll come from Lagos. And once it's 5 o'clock, she will go back to Lagos. And she will do this on Monday, on Wednesday, then Friday, she'll go to the hospital. And she was already having complications. So I got to call her, "What's the plan? I don't see you surviving this and everything." She said, "Oh, she wants to be home close to her husband and everything." And then because of doctor, that was when she opened up with about a couple complications that were coming up. And as a woman now, I think for me, it's not from the place of just being a woman. I think it's from the place of, oh, this is what is expected of me as someone who's been given the responsibility of managing the human part of the organization's resources. So managing is not compliance for me. It is ensuring the well-being of the employee, of course, while making sure that they're doing what they have to do. That is meeting their deadlines or timelines or everything and the deliverables. So that balance was my concern then. And so she will do that, and I was always very worried. So, okay, in this organization, we have staff quarters, and so she was living in the same house with me. So sometimes she would come in, and I noticed she was struggling. Now, this is a very bubbly person. She started sleeping at work. She will be dozing during meetings. So within a month, I called her and I was like, okay, what do you want? She didn't expect that she could get anything. So she was like, yeah, I will try. I will try. And I said to her, you know what? I asked her a few questions. And because the kind of job she's doing, she can do remotely anyway. And what I did was I said, okay, I already noticed you're struggling. I'm one person that look at people, and that is what is expected of us as human resources people. This might be easier for me to spot because I'm a woman, and then I had to walk through sisters, friends, family getting pregnant, especially at a later stage in our lives. So I know what can happen. So I noticed a few things, and I remember calling her to the office and saying, okay, I noticed this, and notice you're having your feet is swollen, and I notice you're struggling to keep your eyes open, even though yes, you're still working, but I noticed she's no longer as vibrant as before. And I said to her, what do you want? And she was like, let me just see that we should just please bear with her, that she's trying. And I said to her, okay, you know what? I'm going to make a proposal to move your work or job to full-time remote. And she looked at me like, is that possible? And I said to her, well, it's work. Number one, I wouldn't want anything that can happen that will make you lose this pregnancy, considering your age and then the medical things surrounding it. And it was just a matter of, okay, I made a recommendation to her divisional head. And then, of course, then the next management meeting, it was one of the things, because we're not that a lot. It's not a very big company. So it was just about 50 or 60 at that time. So it was easy. And I remember just saying, I recommending that this person should move on home from January, and let's spend November and December to do a proper handover and then get someone to support her. And that was what we did. And she was really, really grateful. Oh, of course, the baby has come and God helped her through that. But if I didn't support her, maybe she would still have been fine, but maybe she would not have been fine. So tonight we're going to be talking, I share that experience so that we'll know that. And there's sometimes when people will be pregnant, they will not have any issues. But trust me, there are times when people will have issues. And tonight we're going to be talking, I'm going to be talking to the ladies as well as the men. The ladies, some of us in the house will have gone through this, or maybe we're going through this. But for the gentlemen in the house, one of the things I will want to stress before even going through, okay, oh, this is how to do this is what the law says. We all know what the law says. But one of the things that I want to stress tonight is we have to be as observant as possible as human resources people. Because if we're not observant, we will not know what people are going through. Two, we have to be as open as possible so that people are free to come to us when they're having issues. We should not be the lion of the tribe of the organization we're working for. Some HRs are just not approachable. And if you're not approachable and people cannot come to you, then there's a problem. Well, by the time we get to the area of policy, I've had to break some laws, trust me. And I've broken it, and I've gotten away with some of those breaking of laws when it has to do with employees, especially when they're pregnant or when they're going through some other, maybe one of the things, one of these days, Maoga, we're going to look at is even talking about infertility, because infertility also can be a problem that can affect a woman in the workplace. But today we're talking about supporting pregnant women in the workplace. So how do we support them? Number one way we can support pregnant women is to ensure that the policies support the women. Because if the policy on ground does not support the women, there's not so much we can do as HR people. And that's why if we are blessed to be the one to do the policy, no, we know that the time organizations where, oh, it's a global person that is doing it, and then this, but there's what the law says. And an ex-colleague shared something with me where she was working. She has 2 children, and she said for all the 2 children she has, she didn't have a maternity leave. She said even when she's in the hospital, and she gave birth through CS, that even when she's there, by the time she's coming out of the theater, there are a lot of calls waiting because they've been calling, and when the husband, they say, oh, she just put to bed, they say, yes, give her the phone. There's something she's supposed to have done, and then she will have to start working. And when she said that, I was like, what? Do you know how to sue people and everything? Because they are breaking the law. They are breaking the law. And at the time I was speaking to her, I found out that there was really no policy on ground and nobody was taking responsibility. Unfortunately, this particular organization is a religious organization where everything is the Lord will do it. You have to be stronger than the Lord, and nobody was putting policies in place. So the first way we can support pregnant women in the workplace is to make sure that even before pregnancy starts happening, when we get into an organization, we are looking at what does the policy have. And if there's no policy on ground, it's even better. Please put something in place. When I got to my 2 jobs back to back, which have happened within the last 8 years for me, I've had to be the one starting the human resources department, the functions of those organizations or departments. So I've been the one saddled with the responsibility of creating policies. And I trust you, trust me, I make sure I put all the policies in place, including, okay, paternity leave, maternity leave, the policy about going for tests and everything, including when even they come back, the policy of closing early, resuming quite a bit late, closing early, time to maybe quickly give maybe get the breast to the child, feed the baby, and all those things to support the woman in the workplace, because everybody needs support. And if a person is not properly supported, they may not be their best. And if you want the best, then it is better to support them. So we're going to be looking at it. I hope I'm making sense. We're going to be looking at this from legal. So the question is, what does the law say? I'm aware that in Nigeria, when we talk about, I'm aware that in Nigeria, when we talk about pregnancy, there's some laws that protect people, and some of them are actually even global laws. Some of them are here as in tailored to Nigerian law, and everything is according to Nigerian labor law. I'm not a lawyer, but of course I've picked a few of them that I think is good. And for example, one of them that is very important is that law about maternity leave. According to the law, okay, because my note is different from this one I'm looking at, so I can't be looking at 2 screens at the same time. The law says that a pregnant woman will be entitled to 12 weeks maternity leave. That's 3 months. That's what the law says. In my immediate past job, when I joined the organization, because they always tell me, oh, we're a global organization, we're an international organization. And I just said, you know what? When I was doing that, I put 4 months and I put my explanation. And the 2 co-founders approved it. So as of today, even though I'm no longer there, anyone that is pregnant and is going on maternity leave has 4 months so that they have enough time. Because sometimes 3 months is never enough. But yes, people have to come back. And then the way we structured it is the employee and their reporting line and the HR will have to agree when they should go for the maternity leave. Now, the reason why some of those laws were done was, for me, I believe that after a woman has put to bed, they should have at least 2 months minimum to bond properly with their children. And we look at their strength before we say, okay, you can go. So we're not forcing people to go. Yes, the law says, so it's 12, the law says 6 weeks before delivery, 6 weeks after. So, and it's known that there are times when some pregnancies delay, there are times when they come early. So if you do put somebody on 6 weeks leave before delivery, and they maybe even if it comes at 6 weeks, that means they will only have a month plus to bond with the child, and then they have to start running back. And with the kind of environment we have, that might not really be enough support. So again, I think it's us going to the drawing board and looking at what can be fair to the employee, what can be fair to the organization. What will suffer if we allow this to happen? What will work, what will not work? And looking at our kind of environment, the organization we work for, that will determine what can work. Now, 4 months can work in the organization that I'm just coming out from because of the kind of structure we have. So because of the kind of structure we have, 4 months can work. The only thing is what we've said is the first 3 months, we don't have to contact, but the last 1 month, if there's any need to contact, yes, there will be contact. And of course, we got someone in as a temporary worker just to cover that maternity time. And I know that in some climes back in the UK, I know most organizations, if you're working full-time in an organization where that is, you get 9 months. Although that 9 months, it's salary won't be 100%, you do 100, and then the remaining other 4.5, you get half your salary. But 9 months, that's a good time. But we don't have that facility here. So if, for example, you got the opportunity, I got the opportunity and I used it, not because I was pregnant or I was going to get pregnant, but because I know that, I have colleagues. Now I work in tech. Okay. I used to work in tech. And because this is tech, most of the ladies there, in fact, as a matter of fact, at a point, maybe 1 or 2 were married. No, only 1 was married. Every other person in the organization was young. They're young. Most of them are still like that. They're young. They're just leaving school. They're in their 20s. The oldest was like about 30, apart from this other colleague of mine. So because of this, you have to look at it, okay, what can we do to support people? I understand the fact that some organizations have discrimination. They say you cannot be pregnant between this and that. For me, I think if that is happening, we have to look at it from what the law says. And if we are not supporting the law, or if your organization is not supporting the law, maybe you can be a whistleblower, I don't know. But it depends on what works. But from my own perspective, I believe that we should support the women. So wherever we are working, the landscape, the peculiarity of the organization we're working for will determine what we put in place. But it is the responsibility of us as HR people. And for the men here, I wish I can get your experience. Maybe one person can share experience of when their wife was pregnant. Was it very smooth from beginning? And she just said, sweetheart, I'm pregnant. And then she was just jollificating. And then one day she just said, sweetheart, I think it's time to go to the hospital. Let's go and give birth. Is there anyone in this, Uncle Yemi? Was that the experience with your wife? That there was nothing, she just told you I'm pregnant, and then later she just said, Yemi, let's go to the hospital, I want to put to bed. Was that the experience, sir?
Not at all, no.
Fantastic.
It wasn't easy.
Exactly. And since it's not like that, and I'm sure during that period, so let me use you as my case, during the period she was pregnant, I'm sure there will be nights when she's not sleeping. And since there's no rest for her, there's no rest for you. We know things that happen. A lot of people will say, I know when my wife is pregnant from when she starts making some very wonderful, okay, Matthew, I can see from when she starts making some demands. Somebody once said that the wife will wake him up in the night and say, I want to eat jollof rice. That once that happens, he knows that, this woman is pregnant. And that she can wake him up at 2 a.m. to go and look for rice. An older sister of mine, God bless her, she said her own, when she's pregnant, it is party rice she's looking for. And she used to work in a big organization. She will always have cooler in her bag. If she's passing anywhere and there's a party, she will get down and carry her big belly and say, please give me food. And this is somebody that naturally is pim, but when she's pregnant, thank God she didn't do it more than twice. When she's pregnant, she's a beggar for food. So pregnancy comes with different things. Some people have different health challenges. I've had people who, in one of my lives where I worked, who from 3 months, they have to be on hospital bed so that they don't lose the baby. Those who have I think it's rhesus factor, that's what it's called. And they have to take some injections. There was an ex-colleague that for months I was always going to see her in the hospital, and her leg, the whole body was swollen, yet they had to tell her to, so with her, and she was working in the bank at a point. When she had her first child, she was actually working in a bank. She had to leave that job because for months, so from 3 months, she checks into the hospital. At 6 months, they will take the baby out. So because of her health challenge. Now the question is, imagine if that is a member of your team and she's telling you that I'm pregnant. And you're like, so everybody gets pregnant every AK market day. And this person is saying, I'm not feeling well. I have to check in. And maybe the husband is calling, my wife is in the hospital. And then 1 week, 2 weeks, you're not hearing anything. They're saying she's there. I think the first thing an HR person or any other person would, how is the person in the hospital? But the thing is that different people with different issues when they're pregnant. For some, they're blessed, they don't have issues. But trust me, a lot of women go through different things. Now, for this person that I said, at least I witnessed one of the births. She was in the hospital from when she was 2.5 months pregnant, bed rest, no movement. And then I remember then they say she will be eating, she must be taking ice cream, taking Milo, taking things. Now, those are things that imagine going to visit such a person in the hospital and you see Milo, you'll be like, this person is not serious. So you're pregnant, you're drinking Milo. But that is what the doctor needs, because they needed for the baby to just grow up a bit so that they can take the baby out, because naturally she cannot have a natural birth. So this person had 2 children, and both children had to be put in incubator because the firstborn came at 6 months and maybe a week. The second one came out at 5 weeks and maybe 5 months and 2 weeks. Now, for somebody who is going through that, the best we can do is to provide support. Let me also add, this same person, and this experience is not even limited to one person, trust me, always have postpartum depression. So imagine somebody going through that kind of rough pregnancy, coming out of it, and maybe they're coming back to work and they're still dealing with postpartum depression. I remember recently there was a debate on the group. I didn't really follow very well, but I remember somebody had put it there that somebody resumed work. They didn't declare that maybe they declare only 1 child, but they have 3 from sugar daddy or something, and then this person is pregnant again, and then they've not showed up at work, and then there were divergent opinions about why she will say she will just, number one, she didn't declare that she was pregnant, or that now that she's pregnant and she's not showing up at work. And when I read those things, I was just like, okay, if you haven't been there, you may not understand, but I have seen women go through stuff when they're pregnant. So how do we support women? I think that will take it one woman at a time. We can't put all women in the same mold and expect that every pregnancy will be the same way. We cannot say, oh, every pregnancy is prone to having issues. And we cannot say every pregnancy will be very, very smooth. I think it is making it one woman, one pregnancy at a time, and supporting the person. So if you have 10 people being pregnant within the organization at the same time, we cannot assume that all the 10 of them will have the same symptoms. For some women, it may be backache. Some women, it is headache. I've had time to, okay, when Mr. Yemi and I, Dr. Yemi and I spoke, I've had to actually remember some things and speak to a couple people and say, how did you feel? How did it happen? What did you go through? One of the things that is very peculiar with almost every pregnant woman is headache. They always say there's headache. Maybe they're not sleeping well. And then and I remember I've seen, okay, my sisters, my brother's wife, I've seen a lot of people being pregnant. Like I said, when we're starting this, if it is pregnancy experience, it's not going to be mine, but it's going to be how I've supported people. But trust me, I have seen a lot of people. So the question is, how are we supporting this and how are we not supporting this? So for our gentlemen in the house, thank God for your wife. Your wife may not have had issues. For somebody whose wife had issues when they were pregnant, it will be easier to identify and it will be easier to support. For someone maybe who's not married, whose siblings who have not seen a sibling or a friend or a wife go through that, it might look like, oh, maybe it's just pregnancy. But thing is, pregnancy can be a lot of issues, complications can come in. There can even be threatened abortion. That is if the pregnancy does not even get aborted. So every woman that is pregnant wants to make sure that is, even when it is unwanted, the fact that the person decides not to have an abortion, then they will want to take it to term. And at the point when a woman is pregnant, it is more than one life that is at stake. So the mother's life is at risk, the child's life is at risk, and both of them are growing. The child is growing, the body is changing. As the body is changing, a lot of hormonal things are happening there, which can cause a lot of things. But our responsibility is to make reasonable accommodation for people who are pregnant. How can we do that? We can, like I said, treat each case as they come, and communicating with our pregnant women will help. How can I help you? If they trust us enough, they will open up and tell us this is what is going on. Okay, so thank you. I'm just trying to look at. Thank you. Oh, craving for neighbor's food. Trust is a lot. Is a lot. Reasonable accommodation, very important. Craving for, it can be anything. As in, I know some of us will have even heard women who want to eat sand when they're pregnant, and you'll be wondering, is sand food? So it's like some part of the head gets moved when a woman is pregnant. So when it looks like it's, and do we want to even look at those ones who always throw up or who carry a can of water, of saliva? How do we handle it? Are we going to feel, yuck? Or we're going to look for, okay, I think you should do some mentor, this will help you and everything. And when they're tired, let us look at it. Okay, if the kind of job they're doing is something they can work remotely, we can move them to work remotely. If not, maybe we start looking at, okay, is there any other department where this person can work? And then they can have a bit of respite. We will have to lessen what they're doing per time, just so that we can support them. Number one, so that they don't have complications with the pregnancy, so that they don't have miscarriage, because or anything that can jeopardize them. A lot of women die with pregnancy because they're not supported. A lot of women die at childbirth because the pregnancy was not supported. And we are the human part of the organization. We're the ones that holds the people. I always say the work of an HR, either you're male or female, is like being a mother in the house. You're responsible. You are the one that provides emotional support. You're the one that provides all the support. Of course, the question is, which you are going to ask is, okay, if it is now HR, who helps the HR? And I believe with HR, we also need to speak up. This is what I am going through. If you're supported, fine. But if you're not supported, then we can start looking at Should we just move or should we not move? It's okay. So I'm trying not to. So what are the different? So I'm not using the slides. I'm just speaking from experience and then just sharing. Then maybe when we get to questions, maybe that will help us to also add some things. But just trying to sensitize us to the things that can happen when a woman is pregnant and how we can watch for those signs. Those signs of did my share screen go off?
No, it's okay if you are not using it.
Okay.
It's okay.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So the question is, thank you very much for that. So the question is, there will always be things that we'll have to watch out for, but watching out for them, asking questions, and we should not wait till when our employees are pregnant before we start getting used to them. If there's, I always tell people, my style of HR, I'm a relational person, and because I'm a relational person, I will know something about you, Shani. So it's easier for you to come to me and say, "Oh, I'm going through this," and even if you're not telling me, I will find out. Somebody was doing something, and I said, "Are you pregnant?" And she looked at me and said, "Yes." I said, hey, your husband has got you, and then made a gist of it. And I said, if you do need any form of support, I'll be here. And this one was even like our office assistant, cleaner. But I made sure to say, we're going to support you. At the point when she was getting tired, I called her. I said, you know, you need the money, but we will not be responsible for anything that happens. We want you to be sure. We want to be sure that you're fine. And at a point, I had to say, okay, you know what? In our own case, because she's not a full-time staff, I had to say at a point, I said, okay, go and stay at home with your husband. You cannot be jumping back to be coming to work, because I noticed. So, Uncle Matthew, Uncle Yemi, Uncle K, Uncle Michael, every other uncles, and all the aunties on this call, let us pay attention to our people. Let us create an environment, an enabling environment where people can come to us easily to say, this is what I am going through. This is what I am. If you don't have a relationship with your people, an average person in this part of the world don't even declare they're pregnant, even when their tummy has come out, because they're afraid of city people, not village people. But when they trust you enough, they'll be able to say, this is what I'm going through. So I'm sure you may want to ask, okay, what if I'm not told? When you are not told, well, you're a bit safe. But once you discover they're pregnant, you have to start also like looking for a way of making it easy for them. And if you have to call them to say, guy, I know you're pregnant and I know you need, how can we support you? Is there anything you need? An average person, when they know that you're asking for how you can support them, will open up and say, oh, this is how you can support me. And then when we support them, they're good. We've heard about people having, so what are the different complications that can arise during pregnancy? What can happen? What can go wrong? There's a preeclampsia. There's gestational diabetes. There is, of course, that's fear of pregnancy loss, miscarriage, or stillbirth. And these are the things that requires help. So there are times when you have to, and there will likely be extra time required by the employee when they're pregnant. They will have to go to antenatal. It's usually once in a week for most hospitals, especially once they get to the second trimester. They will want to go to, but let's put it in, I think when we're doing our policy also, we will need to put it as part of the policy to say it must be reported officially. So at least to give them that time. It's not like a case of, I'm not coming tomorrow. It's a case of, okay, once they make it formal, and then we know that this is the day they go for their antenatal, by law, we have to support them. If they don't go, if it's not very far, some organizations insist that people should come to work, but some, thank you, Matthew, for joining us from Ado-Ekiti. Some will insist that people should come back from work, from the hospital to come to the office. But again, if what they're doing, if they can do work from home, they can have their laptop, their tablets, and then work from wherever they are. So it is being reasonable as HR with our people. That is what will help them to carry that pregnancy, so that when they give birth, we'll buy diaper and go and greet them and give it to them as HR and say, congratulations, you are put to bed. So we will need to support our people. And for everybody with support, I'm sure we'll give ourselves that thing to say, I have tried. And when they're having those cravings, if you can, please support them. You can buy them snacks if that's what they want. And if you can't, it's still part of it. It's what makes the workplace to be a good place. They will remember you for it. I gave an example when we're starting about a colleague of mine. She was already 40, she had fibroid, she was struggling, and thank God she got pregnant. Okay, I'm going to that, but okay. Falari May from me, I'll get your question. So thank God she opened up. In her own case, she opened up. And let me quickly say this. When she was coming to me, she believed I was going to judge her, maybe looking at it from anti-church person, kind of person. But I don't judge people. And that's one of the things. So, and I'm going to make reference to the thing that trended on the group last week, about the woman who joined the organization, who said she had a child, and then the other child has another father, maybe sugar daddy or something, or baby father, father or something. And then from even that case, I noticed a bit of discrimination. Who the person, who an employee gives birth to for is not our business. We don't run a church, we run an organization. And what happens in their personal lives, either they give birth to sugar daddy, either they're side fowl, side chick, side hen, that's not necessarily our challenge. It's not our business. So far, they're doing their job and it's not affecting their job. Either they're married, single, transitioning, transgender. The only thing is in Nigeria, transgender might not be legal, but any other thing in between is not our business as HR people. We cannot be judges. We are HR, we're not judges. We're not judges of character. We're not ethical judges. And we're not, since we're not running a church in the workplace, we cannot judge them in the eye of religion or tradition. It's their life. They brought themselves. It's the skill, it's the experience, it's the deliverables that matters. And when it's not affecting our job, please let's not be our business. Let's not make it our business. So I want to the question is, and let me see somebody who will help me answer this question. So you have an employee, she's 45, and she's not pregnant, she's not married, and then she decides to do what do you call it? She decides to go for an IVF, and she's pregnant, but she's having issues. Maybe she's done an IVF and it's failed, but this one is not failing. How do we support them? Number one, pregnancy at 45 is a very big risk. The fact that they have IVF, because I think sometimes we put that cap of judge into when we're serving people. And our internal customers, they're the staff. We have to serve them because the customer is king and queen. So in fact, if by chance we even know how they got it, it's IVF. For me, I think that's even when they need extra. So what does the law say? We cannot fire someone because we are not allowed to discriminate against anyone because they're pregnant. We must support. Do we have organizations where the owners of the business will say, no, we cannot do this, we cannot do that, fire that? That's why we're HR. If every time they tell us to fire people is when we fire people, then we've not started. We must be able to push back and say, in all the organizations I've worked as HR, I always say it, I don't want to have problem with the law. And I always say, I only have one Lord, and that Lord is in heaven. I don't want to put my hand behind us and say my Lord to any human being. So this cannot happen because this is what the law says. And it's very important. So somebody is asking, so I think I should go to the question. So supporting women and whatever we're doing, when we're doing that, what does the law say? In Timi Agbaje's voice. So what does the law say? I will look at some of those laws. I think I have them, and I will read them out. But the thing is, in the sight of law, number one, rules are made for man, not man made for rules. In the sight of the law says we should not discriminate. Let me look for where I have those laws. We should not, the legal part of it, we must not discriminate. But beyond that, what does humanity say is very important. What does humanity say? We want to check ILO Convention number 183 on maternity protection later after this thing, and then so just a minute. Okay, so from here, the legal from Nigeria Labour Act section 54. That is what Timi Agbaje is saying. Duration for maternity is 12 weeks, 6 weeks before, 6 weeks after. And I said the law is made for man. I think we should treat each cases as they come. 12 weeks, yes, the law says 6 weeks before. If the employee can manage, please don't force them to go. Because in my view, 6 weeks is too small. 6 weeks after delivery is too short a time to come back to work. So if they can push as much as they have the power, let them push. And I said, because I had an opportunity in the organization I'm leaving now to determine the fate of the women there, I put it at 4 months, and I gave my explanation, and management accepted it. And for me, that made my life, maybe I was really based on the fact that, okay, maybe if it's me, but maybe I wasn't even doing for myself. But for every single person that goes through pregnancy in the organization, and they know that they will be supported that way, I'm sure they will wait, even though I'm no longer there anymore. They will say, this is a company that I should work in. And I'm sure when they're telling people that this is what benefits I have for pregnancy, they will certainly say that's an organization to work from. And okay, according to Nigeria Labour Law section 54, it says maternity leave can be extended because of, with doctor's report anyway, in case there's a complication. And of course, payments says not less than 50%, but most organizations will do 6 months. Now, the law says if an employee has not been confirmed, the law does not say, the law says, okay, they will not be paid anything less than 50% of their normal wage during maternity leave. So it doesn't say they will not take the 12 weeks. So I think, from what I think, if an employee that is not confirmed yet is pregnant, and the truth is, how long is what you call it? How long is probation period in your organization? Is it 9 months? If it's 3 months and they're coming in, it's either you have seen the tummy come out before they come in. And depending on the organization, if it's an organization where, because of the kind of job they're coming to do, you cannot afford that during that period, maybe a simple pre-employment test will help. And it's always advisable, I think we've said it here a couple of times, that for such organizations, let the pre-employment test be done before the offer letter goes out, so that if anything anything is going to happen, the offer letter is not going out, and then everybody is safe. But when the offer letter has gone out, if let's say, for example, some organizations, they have their probation period as 6 months. So if the employee is already pregnant before coming in, if you can notice them very well, you will know. But if I don't know how legal, maybe there's a lawyer here, because there's some things that are not stated in black and white in the law. I don't know if it is legal to ask a person when they're coming into an organization, are you pregnant? If somebody asks me that question, except if you can note, if you're looking at the person, are you suspecting the person is pregnant? And I would say, instead of asking somebody if you're suspecting they may be pregnant, just tell them, well, you need to go through pre-employment test. And that will be one of the things that you tell the doctor to take. So if it comes quietly, we're not even discussing it, you know that, okay, because of pregnancy, this cannot work. But if a person has come in and within their probation period, they get pregnant, we cannot tell a married woman or an adult not to get pregnant. The same way we cannot tell them, when you get home tomorrow, please do not sleep with a man. So if we cannot tell them to do not sleep with a man, we cannot tell them not to get pregnant. So we will look at what works for us, but the law does not allow us to discriminate against any pregnant person. So let me quickly look at this, because I noticed there are a lot of messages here. I'm beginning to, Ezekiel, okay. Comes with a lot of changes that you need to adjust to, like not using my perfume when she's around. Yes, somebody said his wife does, that he cannot use perfume when his wife is pregnant. When she's around, to eating daybreak eba. Jesus, bicycle ice cream. You know, the bicycle ice cream, the pim one, that's what his wife likes to take when when she's pregnant. And you can imagine, now this may be somebody that on a good day doesn't eat eba, but they wake up to eat eba because, or somebody said craving for neighbor's food. It's a human being harboring another human being. That's what Fumi said. Yes, thank you. Not easy at all. All the support is needed. One pregnancy, one woman at a time. Yes, that is how we have to treat them. Sorry, I'm just quickly looking at what we have here. Okay, so how can we handle the maternity leave of an employee who put to bed 2 weeks after her appointment? That means after, maybe the pregnancy is delayed. If they've gone on leave, okay, this person, I think you need to follow me. You need to be clear. I need you to be clear. I need to be very clear. Are you saying 2 weeks after they got the job, or 2 weeks after the expiration of the maternity leave? I'm not very sure of what you're trying to say. If it is 2 weeks after they get to work, they join the organization and they put to bed. Yes, there's some pregnancies that will hide. The person will still be having menstruation every month. They may not even know they're pregnant. I've seen some documentary about it. Women who will not know that they're pregnant, they will just be feeling uneasy, and then they'll get to the hospital, and then doctor will check and say, there's a baby coming. You have dilated how many centimeters, and they're not even aware they're pregnant. So imagine that you're an HR, and then your employee leaves you and your employee, you left the office on Friday, and then the husband calls you on Saturday, and she didn't look pregnant. The husband calls you on Saturday and said, my wife just put to bed. And you're wondering, was she pregnant? So a lot of things happen with this thing, biology, God, the God factor about it. But I need to be clear. I need a bit of clarity about that question. What does your policy say about unconfirmed? So in my place, you will go for leave, but you to be unpaid till you resume. No one will fire you. Fantastic. And as an HR, you might also propose that instead of making it unpaid because they've not confirmed, if they've at least put in some months into the organization, maybe the organization can consider maybe giving them a percentage of the salary, not because they deserve it, but because we're supporting them. And when you support your employee, when you support your employee, you are getting their heart. And when we get the heart of our employees, we get their hand. And trust me, when an employee knows that this organization supports them, they will go above and beyond to deliver at every time, because they will be committed. So, 2 weeks after they got the job, fantastic. Well, did they look pregnant when they joined the organization, or it's like that case that they didn't even know they were pregnant? It's not obvious that they're pregnant, and then 2 weeks. If it happens 2 weeks that they after 2 weeks that they join the organization, and then if after 2 weeks a person joins the organization and they give birth, it's not like we knew that they were pregnant, because if we know that they're pregnant and they look pregnant at 8 months plus 2 weeks, that's the tummy should be big. But for those with hidden pregnancies, I think it is, like I said, one pregnancy at a time. If I'm going to handle that, well, we'll congratulate this person. We'll put the employment on hold and let them go through maybe 3 months and then resume. That 3 months, we may not pay them. We might look at something that we can do on behalf of the organization, but we will not terminate. Because in this case, it was not obvious, and maybe they didn't even know. And we're not going to go and be interviewing them. Did you know you were pregnant? You didn't tell. It has happened. It has happened. So Because I want to believe that if a person is 8 months plus, that's 40 something months, they will have mentioned it. But for them to not to mention it, they may not know, or anything could have happened. And for it to have happened that way, it shows that it's not even showing that the person is pregnant. That's why you could hire the person. So you can put a pause to the employment. They have the job. It's just that for that period, so you treat it as if they're on maternity leave. Get someone to relieve that position for that period, and then but have a discussion with them to know whether they will be able to come back to work in 3 months. But during that 3 months, they're not getting paid. So I'm sure by the time you discuss with them, they will be able to tell you what can work for them. They may say, oh, I cannot work. My husband has said I should not work. I have to take time with this child. Or they will say, oh, I want to come back. Again, let's treat it as it comes. How do we support pregnant women who had a miscarriage?
Excuse me, ma.
Yes, sir.
Just for the record, there is no condition on which a woman that goes on maternity will not be paid.
Exactly. No, we're looking at this person that just joined the company two
It doesn't matter. The person is already a staff.
Thank you, sir.
Except they started the maternity before they joined you. Even if they joined you 1 hour later, the least is you pay them 50%. There is no condition on which you won't pay them.
Thank you. So thank you. See, that's why I have my guy on the this thing. So we must pay, and because we have to follow the law. We have to follow the law, so we must pay. So NKJO says, how do we support pregnant woman who has had a miscarriage or a stillbirth? A miscarriage is an emotional thing, and the first thing is let them heal. Let them heal. If it has happened and as an HR, you get the message that, oh, this person has had a miscarriage, of course, they let them go. If it's like the early part of the pregnancy that they've not gotten to the place of going on maternity leave yet, let them heal. Visit if possible, follow up with calls, and then the law, again, Dr. Yemi, I need you on this. Because I tried checking this, but the law does not say for miscarriage you should do 3 months. I think that is where humanity comes in. Uncle Yemi, I need you to bail me out here.
So you treat miscarriage generally like someone was sick.
Exactly. So the law does not say
doctors will be able to guide on recuperating period. So it can be 1 month, it can be 2 weeks, it can be 2 months, but there'll be a medical advice.
Exactly.
But we also need to show compassion, because someone who has miscarried technically lost somebody.
Yes. So there's the grief period. There's even the healing of the body.
There is the healing part. There is the bereavement part. So
yes,
maybe 1 month, that kind of a thing.
Yeah. Thank you. So thank you very much for helping me with that. So there are times, so if that happens, we will treat it as it comes. But the number one thing is let them heal, let them grieve, and give them time. So like I said, we can give this, maybe we are giving 2 weeks first, and then keep reviewing. A visit might suffice if they're close. If they don't mind, of course, we have to find out. But even if it's a call, and then we want them to give us a doctor's certificate, if possible, to even know. For example, somebody has had a miscarriage, they had to evacuate the baby. Maybe in the process, there's even if there's no complication, it's just a miscarriage. The emotion part of it takes a bit of time for a woman to heal. And then different women with different emotions, we have to make allowance. So it's not a time where we say 2 weeks is enough, now let them come back to work. They might, I think it was on here too that somebody mentioned that somebody had a stillbirth, and then after a week, they sent her a mail to come back to work, and she resumed and resigned same day. And when I read that again, I felt that was the most insensitive thing I've read in a long time. Even if the owner of the business or the HR has never had a child, or doesn't know how it feels. The fact that a person even loses someone, not to talk of something that you were looking forward to, and then the person that gets lost in the middle, that's a lot. So it's the grief of bereavement, the pain in the body, and everything in between is a lot. So we have to support. And when it is stillbirth, if they have gone on, if, for example, somebody's already on maternity leave, and then they put to bed and the baby did not survive, please let them go through, except if they insist they want to come back. I think they should still go through the maternity leave. Now, it may still need you to speak to the person and see what works, but it won't hurt if they're already on maternity leave to let them just heal during that period. Most times they may be the ones to say, I want to come back. And if they want to come back, graciously, let us have them back. Somebody said women on maternity leave must get at least 50% by labor law. Thank you very much, sir. That this is not tied to confirmation or not. We give such staff maternity leave so they can heal. Yes, 50% or so. Is it right or legal to onboard a pregnant woman? It is right. It is legal. It is right. In fact, not giving a woman a job because she's pregnant, except if the job requires lifting something or anything. If outrightly you're telling somebody you cannot get a job because you're pregnant, that might even be a breach of their rights. So it's legal. It is right. But if we feel that they cannot cope with the job, and we should also always look at it from even the point of the person coping with the job, not necessarily that, oh, do we want a pregnant person to come and work in the organization? Because if you say it out and somebody hears and decides to take it up, that may be a discrimination. So, and in nature, we know we are not expected to discriminate at any time. So yes, a person that is pregnant can come in, or they can say, okay, we'll still give you the job, take your time. Okay, for example, my sister, she had just put to bed. One of the experiences I know, she had just put to bed and she had to go for an interview. And the HR looked at her, knew that, and the HR asked her, how old is your child? And she said, 2 weeks. I said, okay, I'll give you the job, but you go and take care of your child for 3 months, and then you resume afterwards. That is humanity. She still got the job. She didn't have to resume immediately because this person knew that, okay, she needed to be with that child. It may not be easy for her to manage a job when the child is 2 weeks old. So it is supporting family life, supporting people, putting ourselves in other people's shoes, even if you've not had a child yourself, and even if you're not even planning to have a child. It is still making sure that we're supporting people. That is what matters. So I'm quickly looking at it. Say, Mr. Doctor says, I know a Fortune 500 company that hired a woman 8 months pregnant and started the job with maternity leave, fully paid. She was a top talent. Yes, and I've worked with my women before. So we are not allowed to discriminate. So I know this part of the world, the owners of the business will be like, no, we cannot have this. I remember there was a time in banking, you're made to sign some undertaking for some, especially for marketing, that you must not be pregnant for a particular number of years. I don't know if that still obtains, but I know that there's been a lot of spotlights on different banks lately with some of their policies, and people are really calling them out seriously. So I don't know if that's lot, they still do that, but even if they, I know that, okay, maybe that time it used to be full staff. Now, most times for people in that kind of level, it's usually outsourcing. Maybe it's the outsourcing company that weeds out people. And still, doctor said, one place I worked, we give women with still but 8 weeks leave, which is really good. 8 weeks, that's full 2 months. Even though they've had stillbirth, at this time, their body will have changed, they will have healed properly, their bodies, and then emotionally they will be better. And even when they come back, we should still have that discussion with them to find out how they're doing, if they have healed properly. We may have to, I don't know, some organizations have counselors. We can point them to therapists, therapists to help them through the period, because the death of a child, what if somebody has even been waiting for long and it happened? And even if they've not been waiting, it can be traumatizing. So even when they resume, if we can point them to a good counselor. Let them have go through therapy. That will be support for the women who have lost a child. They will not forget the organization, and trust me, they won't forget you as HR. Somebody says discussing pregnancy and inadequate support for nursing mothers raises important questions. Because after 3-month maternity leave, should a staff member bring a child to work? How can she focus without distraction? What support systems can organizations provide for nursing mothers? Some organizations will put crèche, will have crèche services. Some organizations cannot afford it. If you work in an organization that cannot afford it, if the role that a person is occupying can allow them work remotely, please let's try and work that. So they finish their leave, their maternity leave, they transition, and then let's just make sure that we follow them, especially for those who have been in the system and we know they're very responsible and they're very reliable. They can work from home. But for the places where, okay, maybe the job cannot work from home and there's no crèche service, they may not be able to bring their child to work. But the law says, and I think I know that one, I think you have 30 minutes before work and 30 minutes after, towards the end. So that's 1 hour extra for a nursing mother. If they don't, and if this is what I would do, if it's me, and if they don't live far away from work, if there's somebody that can bring the child at some time for them to breastfeed, although I'm aware that what a lot of women do now is they pump the breast milk, and then they take the child to crèche, and then, or minders, or they have minder at home, and the minder feeds the baby with the breast milk. Again, it is discussing with these women and supporting them. By the time we discuss with them, they're free with us, they'll be able to tell us, and then it doesn't hurt to say, how can we assist? How can we help you? And by the time we're doing that, they will tell us what they need. Of course, there are times when people can come and give us what is not reasonable. Doesn't mean that, okay, if you're pregnant, we're not. No, it's also, again, there must be balance. The interest of the organization is also very important, and the work is very important. So we cannot say because somebody's pregnant, oh, they don't have to work, they will not be responsible. No, but we have to support them with understanding, knowing that, okay, it's a transition. We're not doing them a favor. We're supporting them so that at least they can have a good life, and then they can continue to work with us. So it's a win for the organization as much as it is a win for the employee. So somebody said, I once worked in a place where my boss, despite knowing the staff is on sick bed, we keep sending tasks via mail. You're on the bed and you see notification for tasks to be done. So it means when you are healthy, you come back to face a lot of backlogs. I then imagine how it will be for a pregnant woman. So I left. Yes, if it's like that, and I mentioned it earlier, a person that said when she was working in a particular place, there was no maternity leave at all. It's not in the policy. Nobody takes maternity leave. And I was like, how is that even for that? Even when they have had CS, by the time, and according to that person, they're not allowed to switch off a phone. So your phone must be reachable. So imagine coming out of under anesthesia, and then you're seeing that you've missed a lot of calls, and maybe the husband is saying, oh, my wife is just putting to bed. Say, yes, please tell her to read the message, and please tell her she's supposed to send, she must make sure she sends the mail at this time. That is ridiculous, and that's toxic. And we've said it here a couple of times. If it's not working, it cannot work. Then maybe we start dusting our CVs and we start looking for another place. When they ask us, why do you want to leave your current employment? You can say it's for well-being, mental health, or just, oh, I need more challenges, like we always say. So somebody says, with regards to maternity support and supporting family life, what happens with women who adopt? Yes, when a woman adopts, again, by the time I was doing the policy I talked about in my immediate past employment, I read through different countries, the policy. So some countries treat adoption the same way they treat childbirth. So And what based on that, then I wasn't looking at labor law. I was just looking at the practices in different countries. And what I'd put in place for that organization is, if you're adopting a baby, that's, say for example, surrogacy. If it's surrogacy, somebody is carrying your child, even though you're not carrying the child, you still go through, and so far you declare it, and then this happen, and then this thing, you still take your maternity leave. That's what I have on that policy. Again, maybe that is what 2 months maternity leave with, okay, I'd put 3 months for the organization, but of course the communication has to be there. They have to be open. So it's not a case of somebody just come and force HR, they just want speaking for me. No, HR would have known, and then there would have been a discussion. Now, for older baby, say for example, you want to adopt a 5-year-old, yes, you still need to bond, but it's not as much as the one. Yes, okay. Well, say somebody say not as like you're adopting a newborn. If it's like an older baby, I think consideration can be given, and I think it will be taken, I think it will be taken as is cases. But in the policy I've done before, I kept that at between 6 weeks and 8 weeks, depending on the level of, depending on the age and then the circumstances. For example, if the child is coming from out of town, or coming from maybe a known person, or is coming from a proper home, the process of signing and everything. But when it is surrogacy, it will all be treated almost like it is you're giving birth, or if you're getting a child from, when it's a newborn, a lot needs to be done, because number one, you need to even get used to them. They need to get used to the environment, and then the crying in the night and everything is the same, even though you're not breastfeeding. That's stress. So it's not just for breastfeeding. Most times, those who have had children, the first few weeks of a child's life, they specialize in crying at night. We still don't know why they do that, but they do it. So that is to support the woman. So you don't want to wake up the whole night carrying a baby, and then in the morning you're back at work. So let me quickly look at what is here. Okay. Can a nursing mother extend her maternity leave beyond the standard duration if she's still at that shift? Yes, they can. There should be doctor's report. They can. Whether or not they will be paid 100% is now based on the company policy, but sure, it can be extended. I know that back in the UK, even though the law says 9 months, some people get up to 12 months. That's a full year. They're even pregnant by the time they're coming back from maternity leave. Without resigning, how else can the woman you just mentioned, no maternity leave, responding to work on the sick bed, fight this wickedness? Resigning seems to be the easy suggestion many times. Yes, maybe she didn't know what the law says, and I said something, it was a religion setting, so there was no policy at all. So when she got to our organization, and she actually was one I added over to, and I was explaining to her, and when she mentioned that, I said, well, here, this is what it is. You can see it. In fact, I even feel that a woman deserves more than 3 months. So I think in this kind of place, since there was no policy, if we get to a place and we find that and that's what we do, right? When we get to a place, we want to know if there's a policy, if there is anyone, we look at it, we update it based on what we think is right and what the law is saying at the time. If there's anyone, we start one from scratch, and then we adopt it for the organization. So for this person, well, she, of course, for me to say that person became my colleague at the point, says that she's left the organization, but she actually had 2 children through that process, and that was not very easy. Somebody says, what can a pregnant employee who is being bullied at work do to cope? Nobody should be bullied, pregnant or not pregnant. Nobody should be bullied. And I think if a pregnant employee is bullied, they should report. They should report to HR. And if it is HR that is bullying them, they should report to top management. If it is top management that is bullying them, they may want to take seek legal action, take legal action, because nobody should be bullied in the workplace, especially when they're pregnant. Let me quickly see what the law says about being bullied. non-discrimination. Employers may not terminate, demote, or deny promotion or benefit to employee. So I'm trying to look at what the law says about being bullied. Sorry, bear with me. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm just trying. Pregnant, okay, so according to the law, okay, pregnant workers are protected from bullying, harassment, and stigmatization linked to their condition. And we are required to take disciplinary action if this happens. If anyone bullies them, we will have to take, but if it's coming from the HR, that will even be a shame. But they're not allowed to be bullied. So we cannot say because yes, she's not pregnant. She's not married and she now went to go and get pregnant. And because our own pastor preaches that sex out of marriage or childbirth out of marriage is a sin. We didn't die for them, so we do not determine how they run their lives. Even if you attend the same church, it is work. So, and because they're not working in the church, we will treat them as people. They are there to work, not to be judged. So no bullying, no judgment, no discrimination. Thank you for that hashtag, no discrimination against anybody that's pregnant. Is it okay to be calling pregnant whoever names like Yabiji? Yeah, that depends. If it's in an environment where that is allowed, yes. But again, emotional intelligence, if we call someone Yabiji and they don't seem to like it, please stop it. Just like you can call any name. It's common sense, and we should be emotionally intelligent to know that somebody doesn't like. So if you are calling somebody Yabeji and they frown at it, then no. If you keep calling, then you're disrespecting them, and that may be like you're bullying them. So please, if it's a person that doesn't mind, you call them Yabeji, Yabeta, and they're happy about it, let it be the name, let it be, and that can come from the place of relationship. So, for example, I have this crazy thing that I do. Anybody can be pregnant anywhere I am. So everybody where I work, if you say, oh, my head is aching me, including a guy, I'm like, are you pregnant? And they will always say, what semester are you in this pregnancy? So, and that is me. And that is not because that's not like it's legal or it's normal, but because they accept me that way, they accept that, and it became a joke. Everybody will say, are you pregnant? Even to a guy. So, but when we find out that people don't like we cannot force them to like what they don't like. So coming back to us as HR, say, for example, we're the ones that should take care of everyone, and we're the one that should take care of everyone. When it becomes us that's pregnant, how do we handle it? Again, what the number one thing is, let's be open. We are HR people. We are human beings also, even though we are expected to take care of people, but we also have to be responsible for ourselves. So the first thing is we need to advocate for ourselves. We need to immediately, this is happening, inform the person we're working with, maybe our direct reporting line. Okay, it has happened. I have carried something. I'm holding a whole human being in my tummy at the moment. And if it's not first pregnancy and we know how it goes, let us open up and say, this is what usually will happen. And this is how it would need to be supported. So it's either they're supporting you or they're not supporting. But I know that if we do listen, number one, we know our rights already. So we should know these are the things we have. This is the kind of entitlements we have. We already know that. So because we're the one, and we're the one championing support for pregnant employees. So the same thing applies to us. And but the thing is, we have to put it on the table and then work with our direct reporting line, how we can make our work to be a bit more flexible for us to manage the changes that are happening in our bodies. And when this is going on, let us make sure to listen to our bodies to know when we're fatigued and when there's discomfort. Stay hydrated, eat well, take breaks, very important. And of course, when we have to call in sick, let us not shy away from it, of course, responsibly. And if, for example, if we're the ones that will have issues with pregnancy, again, let us communicate. And if we cannot cope with work, let us speak with our doctors to get the necessary reports that we can submit in the workplace so that they know that, oh yes, we're going through this. I remember there was a time I was here and I was talking about about menopause. And I remember saying that I was going to discuss with my direct reporting line that this is what I'm going through, that because I remember at the point when I was saying, I said, it's good to discuss with the person you're working with, to say, this is what I'm going through, and this is the kind of support I will need. And I remember that night, as I finished with that call, my CEO was trying to reach me earlier, and I said I was in the training. And when I finished, I reached out to him. We had a meeting, and towards the end, I mentioned to him, I said, actually, I was speaking with a group of HR people about menopause. You may not have noticed, but this is what I'm going through at the moment. And these are the symptoms I'm going through. And this is how I will need help and support. And that really helped me because I opened up. So, and when we're doing this, let us practice mindfulness, of course, stay hydrated, surround ourselves with good people. And then as we're caring for people, let's care for ourselves. Let's take responsibility for ourselves. The same advice that we give to people, let's give it to ourselves, oh Lord, and delegate. Please delegate. Please delegate. And please delegate and document the process. Speak about it. Not that I know, yes, we tend to keep things quiet around here, but because you need that support. The same way we expect people to also talk to us, let's talk to them. If we're not having issues, maybe we can keep it quiet, but how long do you want to keep quiet for? I would rather disclose what I'm going through so that I can get a lot of support than keep it to myself, afraid. Somebody said, is there a rule around informing one's line manager about one's pregnancy status, especially when there's no health challenge? The trust cost. Yes, I think it's good to inform people, and as HR people, the number one rule for HR we know is what do you call it? What is this? I'm looking for one English like this. Confidentiality. Confidentiality is the first rule. So when people come to us to tell us these things because they know we will not be doing saying it about, because it starts in the office, it ends in the office. When they're ready to tell people they're pregnant, they will say it themselves. It won't be coming from us. Again, and when it is us also, the people will report to, we'll need to let them know. And if you're not sure, they may not want to say it. May want to say, okay, I want this kept under wraps for now, but I want you to know that I'm growing another human being at the moment. I don't have complications. I'm fine. I'm eating well. I'm sleeping well. God is glorified. And if it's the other way, that there is going to be issues, also say it. I'm craving unnecessary things, so that the day it sees you eating, you will not feel that, are you okay? Just open up as much as possible. Of course, there's a place of diplomacy. What doesn't need to be disclosed may not be disclosed. Is very, very important. So let me quickly look at my notes, and then we talked about what the law says, the Constitution. That's Nigeria's Constitution section 42 guarantees freedom from discrimination, like the doc was asking the other time. So there are different rules. The ILO recommends that there must be breastfeeding break for people who have just come out of who have just resumed from maternity leave. We've covered talking about bereavement. What do you call it? We talked about apologies. We talked about losing pregnancy, this thing. I think one of the things I would quickly drop before maybe we'll start asking more questions, is the case of infertility. So we're talking about pregnancy. Maybe it's also good to talk about infertility in the workplace. So you have a colleague who walks up to you because they trust you and they know you're mature to process information. And they said to you, I've been married for 15 years and I've had 5 IVFs and they have failed. What can you do? Yes, you can offer prayer if that is within your policy. But I think it's still the same thing. supporting them with right words, and maybe seeing how you can send them for therapy. Another thing we can also think about that can happen that has to do with pregnancies, failed IVF. So we've talked about even when they lose the child, not abortion, miscarriage. We talked about miscarriage, but now we're even talking about somebody has gone through IVF. Maybe they've not told us. From the little I know about IVF, it's a long process of injection, taking medication, a lot of painful things, and then a lot of women go through that, and then they lose the pregnancy. If we do find out, the question is, how do we treat such situations? Again, we will treat it the same way we treat a person who's had a miscarriage or a stillbirth, giving them the support, giving them time to heal properly, and then supporting them, asking questions. How can we be of help? I think that is how we can work, how we can support our people by being human, as we are human resources managers, chief people officers, talent managers, whatever the titles and the positions are. So I'll hand over to Mr. Yemi. I hope I've been able to touch on everything. And if there's any parts that still you want me to still touch, please do let me know. So, Doctor, over to you.
Thank you so much, Ma. This has been fantastic, very engaging, enlightening, and also thank you so much for your candor. Just so we know, in case anybody still wants to say something quickly, want to share your experience, or you have a question you want to ask very quickly, if you show by raising your virtual hand, we'll quickly permit you to do that. Otherwise, we are happy to call it wraps for tonight, and we can extend our appreciation.
Thank you.
I see people thanking you already in the comment section.
Yes.
Just checking. All right. Fantastic. So at this point, since there are no hands up, we can just
thank you, everyone,
and thank our able facilitator for tonight. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma.
Thank you.
It does not look like the type of butter that we know there.